Lifestyle Heights, a prestigious gated community in a tranquil environment offering elegantly styled 2 or 3 and a 3-bedroom plus a DSQ apartment, combining tasteful design and modern amenities. Contact us on 0706 155 277 or 0726 205 208.
Thank you for staying with your world on NTV. This morning it's time to shift gears a bit and talk about something else which is very important to you, which is the impact, of course, of COVID-19 on the country's economy, specifically the impact of COVID-19 on businesses, and even more specifically, the impact of COVID-19 on women-led businesses, and what you and I, corporates, the government and other stakeholders can do to help, of course, business or women-led businesses to withstand the impact of COVID-19 and, of course, contribute their rightful share of the country's economy. In the studio this morning, I'm joined by Henry Mashauraya. He's the Director of Home Care at Unilever. Good morning, Henry, and welcome to the show.
Very good morning, Victor, and thank you very much for having me today.
All right. Also joining us this morning is Ivy Wanjiru. She's the Director of Kitenge Crown. Good morning, Ivy. Looking very good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Victor, and thank you for having me here.
All right. And joining us virtually this morning is Nancy Nyawira. She's the Director of Lulea, which is a luxury leather brand. Good morning, Nancy, and welcome to the show. All right. Of course, Nancy will be joining us in a short bit, but let me just, of course, kickstart this conversation with you, Henry, and Ivy. I mean, let me actually start with you, Ivy. If you look at 2020, we were just all living our lives, everything was okay, and then boom, COVID-19 is here. And so far, virtually every part of our economy and every sector has been affected. How was it for you as a business owner?
Well, it's interesting that you'd ask that question because I just launched, I was planning for my big launch just before COVID hit. So I had everything lined up. Of course, I was very excited. My team was also very excited. So we had to slow down on things, especially being in the apparel industry, which is not so much of a basic need, but it's turning out to be a basic need because we need to feel good, even if things are not running as we'd like. So, yeah, I'm still working towards the launch despite the COVID happening. But I'm happy to be sharing my expectations, my challenges, and the kind of support that I'm looking to get.
All right. So you were about to launch your business before COVID-19 struck. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
And how long did it take you before you eventually launched the business?
I had to put on hold the launch entirely because I'd been planning for it for about 6 months. But now I couldn't make it as grand and beautiful as I'd have liked because of the pandemic. So it's still a work in progress.
Okay. And maybe if I can come back to you now, Henry. I mean, COVID was really bad for businesses, but research shows that it was even much worse for women-led businesses.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that's what we have seen. So I think the reality is COVID has really hit more the marginal people within our communities, specifically women. And I think that's why for us, if you look at the program that we're running with Sunlight, I think it's actually landed at the right time, yeah, where we've gone out and we specifically said that how can we assist these parts of the communities that are struggling the most. Yeah? So I think obviously we'll talk a little bit about it later in terms of what we've done. I think the first thing that we have done is to actually give opportunities to these women to express their businesses. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So we've opened up our media spaces to showcase a lot of the talent that exists within Kenya, which is what's been happening now in from January to April. And then in the future, I think we've also done a lot of work to understand what stops women from progressing. Yeah? And I think there's two key areas that stand out. One of them is around financial literacy, and then the other area is around their ability to communicate and to showcase their businesses within the digital space. So again, looking at how we can, upskill these women. And I think even more importantly in these COVID times where it's actually difficult for them to progress their businesses.
Okay. And maybe if I can come back to you, Ivy, maybe from where you sit as a business owner and as a female business owner today, what's the biggest risk and challenge facing you as a business owner and even the business itself?
I'd say the biggest challenge at the moment would be accessing funds to really scale up so that I'm able to have a solid base and, of course, in the process of it, offer employment to women like myself. So the issue of accessing funds, as well as opening up to even bigger markets, but thank God for Sunlight, the visibility really did my business justice because now I was able to reach markets and an audience that I couldn't have done by myself.
Okay, and of course we'll come back to how, of course, later on how the program has impacted, of course, your business. But specifically on that very issue of funds, is it funds, of course, that you're looking to borrow from a lending institution, or are you looking for grants and that kind of course, support?
Okay, Victor, to be honest, as a founder and a very aggressive one at that, when you're seeking to find funds, you try and reach out to as many people as possible. So, of course, I have definitely tried the angle on approaching banks, trying to attract investors, angel investors as well, grants. So I'm not focused on just one money lending platform. So, and I can tell you for sure that it cuts across all boards, all sectors. It's not been easy accessing funds for this industry. And of course, being a woman makes it a bit more of a challenge, but I'm still hopeful.
Okay, and that's important, Henry, because research, I was looking at these figures from the International Finance Corporation, this research from 2020 showing that women-led MSMEs, of course, entered the pandemic with lower rates of financial inclusion than their male-led MSMEs. In fact, this pandemic exacerbated these trends, and among them, 13% of those SMEs that accessed financial support during COVID-19 crisis, fewer were women-led SMEs.
Yes.
I mean, clearly we have a crisis here.
No, for sure it's a crisis. So I think that's why for us, and again, in terms of how we are trying to approach it as corporates, yes, there's the work that we're trying to do as Unilever and Sunlight, but also co-partnering, one of the major banks, which is ABSA. Yeah, and as to what Ivy is saying is, I think it's absolutely critical that we engage with women. We give them guidance in terms of how to successfully apply for these funds to advance their business opportunities. So again, yes, I think the co-partnering of different corporates to have this conversation, to then coach and to guide, I think is critical to overcome exactly what you have just described. And I think I just want to also make another point in terms of why it is so important that women SMEs thrive and succeed. What we find, again, from a research perspective is 90% of what they earn, women, is invested into their homes and communities. Yeah? That number is a lot less for men.
Are you saying we as men take our money to the bar?
Well, I mean, yeah. I suppose you could say that, but I think there's a very clear correlation of advancement of women and the amount that they earn, goes directly into the home and directly into the community.
So these are the people we should empower more.
Absolutely. So I think if we are really want to be honest in terms of advancing the communities and the livelihoods of people within Kenya, I think a greater bias towards empowering women in this space not only helps the women, but it helps the communities at large.
Okay.
Yeah? So I think, yeah.
And maybe for you, Ivy, then, that was March 2020 when COVID-19 struck. At what point did things start to perhaps look better and you are eventually able to kickstart the business and perhaps see your sales go up?
I'd give it, say, around June, because I feel like everyone had gone through the whole COVID motion. People were starting to accept that it's a reality, and they remembered, oh, okay, oh my gosh, my wardrobe looks like this, but I'm staying home, I'm staying safe, but I still need to feel beautiful, I still need to feel confident. So by the time it was getting to June, July, I'd really push my sales, especially online, and a few pop-up markets at Westgate and at Village Market. And I feel what has actually enabled me to stay afloat is personalizing every encounter. Every sale is like, whoop, a new sale, and I'll get out of my way, get to the customers, show them how to tie the head wraps themselves, and yeah, slowly, I'm slowly venturing into complete outfits as well.
Okay, and looking at these figures I just mentioned from the internet, from the IFC, and it shows, research shows that while African women make up almost 58% of the continent's self-employed population, they are granted 1, less funding, number 2, they receive less training, and then number 3, mentorship and startup advice, of course, and as well as fewer opportunities to scale up. Do you relate to these issues?
Yes, I do. I definitely relate to the issues of, and I just want to put it out there. Perhaps the assumption is that women are more subjective than objective. Maybe that's why institutions find it very hard to lend the amount of money that's actually needed to scale up. So personally, yes, of course, I've knocked a few doors. Some have opened up in different capacities, but in terms of accessing the funds, and not just funds, but the relevance, in the quantities that I require to scale up my business, that has definitely been a challenge for me.
Okay, and maybe because you mentioned that you started the business in June, we've just completed, which means you're celebrating a year old. A huge number of small businesses actually don't get to see their first or second. Most of them don't go beyond their third birthday because, of course, a huge number of them actually end up collapsing for a number of reasons in the market. Let me just get your perspective on that.
Well, I think it also depends on how aggressive you are and the long-term vision. Because, for example, for myself, if it was just about selling the head wraps to make a few coins, a few shillings, then when COVID hit, I would just be, devastated and lack motivation. But then the goal, having to also evolve as COVID happened. We had a lot of African masks, which are now part of outfits. I'm yet to see men wearing matching masks to go with their suits. Maybe I'll be able to convince you, Victor, to be the first one. But yeah, I'd say the reason I've stayed afloat, it's been 1 year, is because I have the long-term vision, and I'm just trying to change and move with emotions, have to be innovative, change, just don't stick to one thing. If you're selling rice and it's the season to have, mashed potatoes, then you have to keep on switching up so that your business doesn't die with the different waves going on.
All right, I think Henry just wants to comment on that briefly, yes?
Yeah, no, I think something that Ivy mentioned a little bit earlier on around stereotypes and the difficulty of accessing funds, which is, I think, something that we need to, collectively as a nation work towards addressing. And I think specifically when women try and enter more male-dominated type of industries, we definitely have seen across a lot of the research that we have done that there's barriers to it, like sexism barriers to it. So trying to own a butchery or a car workshop, something to that extent. So I think for us, back to my earlier point in terms of the impact that women make back into the community, it's also important that, we break these stereotypes, even in these COVID times, to give them access to industries and opportunities that they previously may not have ventured into, because of,
So you think part of the reason why their contribution is low is because we are locking them out of certain sectors?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
And maybe Ivy, for you then, you're in the fashion industry, which is, ideally perhaps dominated by girls and women. Do you think the stereotypes that Henry is talking about in partly informed your decision to go into fashion as opposed to perhaps any other sectors, like maybe maybe in the mechanical industry and repairs, or just any other sector that appears quote unquote male dominated?
Okay, actually you'd be surprised to learn that majority of very good tailors are actually men.
Oh,
it's
really?
Just that, yes, it's just that
I
the
take it back.
consumers it's okay. It's just that the consumers are majorly women because I think girls just like to always
look good.
nice and feel good. Yeah, but then I would say the reason I ventured into fashion, because my background is totally different.
Yeah.
I've done a major in hospitality management. So for me to have ventured into fashion, it was just out of interest and curiosity. And I felt like, okay, I think people are starting to embrace being African with the whole also Black Lives Matter. People became more proud of their heritage. That is why I came in. But when you talk about mechanical engineering, that's taught. I mean, I cheer on all the girls who are interested in that, but for me, it just wasn't an interest. I didn't venture into fashion because it's
Would you start a butchery?
dominated. Sorry?
Would you run a butchery?
Definitely, for white meat. White meat.
Okay. All right. But I think for me, Henry, what this points is the need for support, either from government, from corporates, from other stakeholders, NGOs, from investors, to, of course, support women to be able to, one, withstand the effects of COVID-19, and again, jump over the hurdles and break the barriers that we've just spoken about.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think, there's a lot of women out there doing good things. Yeah. So I think what's important for us is also to get our women from striving to thriving. Yeah. And this is about the lady who maybe today she's just braiding hair on the corner of the street.
Yeah.
How can we take that lady and actually get her into a position where she's now owning a salon and multiplying the income that she is generating for her business? And that's why I keep on harping back to the point of upskilling these women. Yeah. And we are very clear, or based on the discussions and the research and the conversations that we've had with multiple women in Kenya, that financial literacy is one of the areas that will help them from getting from striving to thriving. So financial literacy is a very clear enabler to do that. And again, it's not just for, to your point, it's not just for corporates like ourselves to step in.
Yeah.
It's about government institutions who can offer these type of skills. UNITA, which is another organization, the United Nations Training Institute, which we are working with. Collectively, we need to all come together and give women these skills. So I mentioned the financial literacy, and the other one that I keep on calling out is then the opportunity to help these women to market themselves. Yeah. So especially in the digital world. And again, the digital world has become even more important in these COVID times.
Yeah.
So the ability to, use basic tools like Facebook or Instagram to showcase what they are doing. And it might sound it might sound simple, but I think doing it well is the big difference.
There's a difference between doing it and doing it well.
Exactly. and that's the difference in terms of striving to thriving. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, like I keep on saying, it ladders back to what the benefit the community can have once these women are truly thriving.
Okay. And I believe this is part of this very, I'd like to call it ambitious, because training 100,000 women is no joke.
Yes.
This ambitious program by Unilever and Sunlight to empower and train, I believe, 5,000 women this year.
Yes.
And by, I believe, 2026, a whole 100,000 women. Just talk to us about the program.
Yeah, so it's ambitious. So we've set ourselves a very ambitious goal. So this year, actually, we are relaunching the Sunlight brand, and this is the big audacious goal that we've put out there. Yeah. So I think, as you've rightly called out, the first stage is for this year to get to 5,000. Yeah. So in conjunction with our partners, ABSA and UNITAR that I've already mentioned, So literally this is giving them access to financial literature virtually on a mobile platform. And then after that, the intent is actually to also have, face-to-face interactions, once the COVID situation eases up in our region. Yeah. So it's about giving them access to that tuition and giving them access to that information that enables them to move forward.
Okay. And I'll definitely come back to, of course, how this has impacted the lives of many businesses, including IVs and that of Nancy. But I'm told Nancy is now ready to join us. Good morning, Nancy. She is, of course, the director of Lulea, which is a luxury leather brand. Good morning, Nancy, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, we have to take a quick break, but before we do that, just talk to us about 2020 COVID-19 and how it was for you and your business.
It was really bad because we had to lay off staff. The sales went down, so things became very tough. Buying the raw materials, financing, everything was bad.
Okay. But if you could single out one of the biggest challenges for you during that time, was it the sales which are not moving or the lack of capital to keep the business moving even when sales are not moving?
I would say both, because if the sales are not moving, you also don't have the capital. You don't have the capital, and the capital was locked up in production. Like, we had bought raw materials, and we also needed to buy some more, and the raw material, the financing was also expensive because the raw materials were expensive.
Okay. But the difference between you and other businesses is your business is still standing right now. Many businesses, in fact, thousands, if not millions, actually closed down last year due to COVID-19. How did you manage to steer and keep the ship moving until, you weathered the storm?
Well, yeah, we managed to come to get.
All right, I think, yes, Nancy.
Okay, like, we managed to come back and start slowly, but I would say that we are not making profits, but we are back and we are strong, and we believe we are still continue to be strong.
Okay, so you're not eventually out of the woods yet?
No, not. We are at break even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need to return to profitability. All right. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
We have to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, remember Henry has highlighted this program, which is meant to train 100,000 women by 2026. So when we come back, we try to understand exactly what happens in there. Is it a training? Is it empowerment? Is it issues of funding? And also, who is eligible? How do I get to be part of this program? Don't go too far.
England versus Denmark.
Coming big, in StarTimes. Get connected today for only $9.99 aerial decoder and 2,699 satellite dish.
StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
What do you think about Molfix?
Actually, another brand was recommended to me, but it had a leakage problem. Then I decided to try Molfix. His clothes don't get wet anymore.
Because Molfix provides extra protection against leakage thanks to its anti-leakage elastic barriers. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Fresh fried ginger has ginger oil, which is good for a healthy living lifestyle. It combines wonderfully on salads, stir fries, when basted on roasted meat, or simply sprinkled on your favorite dish. Now available in 250 ml, 500 ml, and 1 liter.
Just 1 capful of Dettol is enough to disinfect surfaces and protect your family and your home. Dettol, tested effective against COVID-19.
On the trend, 10 p.m.
Lifestyle Heights, a prestigious gated community in a tranquil environment offering elegantly styled 2 or 3 and a 3-bedroom plus a DSQ apartment, combining tasteful design and modern amenities. Contact us on 0706 155 277 or 0726 205 208.
Very beautiful pictures from Equal Falls, that is in Tharaka Nithi County. What a beautiful country we have. Thank you for staying with your world on NTV this morning. We are, of course, talking about the impact of COVID-19 on women-led businesses, and I have my guest this morning. Henry Mashauraya is the director of Unilever Home Care, at Unilever. Ivy Wanjiru is the director of Kitenge Crown, as well as Nancy Nyawira Warungu. She's the director of Lulea, which is a luxury leather brand. We want to resume our discussions, but before we do that, let's give you a quick update of what else is happening across the world. And as part of the second phase of its vaccination rollout, the South African government has started vaccinating its police officers. The police officers at the Orlando Stadium, where a vaccination site has been set up, received the Johnson & Johnson jab. Of course, the country is still currently experiencing the third wave of infections, where the fast-spreading Delta variant is dominant.
Our station, Eldorado Park, is closed on many occasions due to members testing positive. We have lost colleagues along the way. Our members have tested positive, and that fear of going for testing, that anxiety of waiting for your result.
It's going to make a big difference. I mean, we're always in contact with people. We're working with different kinds of people on a daily basis, of which some we don't know the status and all that, you see. So for us to be protected, it's a big bonus for us.
Now, elsewhere, scientists are confident in their quest to rescue the northern white rhinoceros using 9 northern white rhino embryos, a key step towards pulling the species back from the brink of extinction. A team in Cremona, that is in Italy, used the eggs harvested from the 2 surviving females and frozen sperm from the deceased males. Science is the only hope for the northern white rhino, of course, one of the 2 subspecies of the white rhino, after the death of the last male named Sudan, that was in 2018.
And these majestic razors are destined to disappear from the earth.
The next stage is to work out how to take those embryos, which are northern white rhino embryos, and to put them into a surrogate southern white rhino female. Now it has to be a southern white rhino female, because there are no northern white rhino females that can carry those embryos to make a calf. So it has to be a southern white rhino female, because they are very closely related to the northern white rhino.
It's only a matter of time before we have the first proven pregnancy with the southern white rhino embryo. And if this is shown, then we will have a pregnancy with the northern white rhino embryo. 9 embryos really incorporate new calves, that's for sure. If the transfer in the surrogates in mothers, potential mothers with a nice lively environment here in Kenya, that we are quite confident that this will be successful and we can demonstrate to the world that this ambitious project is successful.
Biorescue partners will continue their mission to give them and other species a future.
Now, if you like pizza, this is something you would definitely be interested in, because would you like it served by a human or by a robot? Because a new kind of a pizzeria opens in the district of Barbag in the central of Paris, and it comes with a new twist. Let's take a look.
commence à être mieux. Et elle croustille, tu vois. Je l'entends ici, ça craque.
Pizza making robots in Paris. So how do you like your pizza made? But anyway, lastly, scents and colors of sage, savory, and lavender and cornflowers spread over the meadows in Albania, which has seen a soaring demand of Western nations for medicinal herbs since the pandemic outbreak. In Shekeras, at the foot of the Mali Itati mountain in Albania's south, it is the season for cornflowers, a plant traditionally valued for its ability to boost metabolism and resistance to infections. Early in the morning, before the heat of the day, dozens of women wearing broad-rimmed hats and handpick the magnificent signature blue flowers that attract clouds of butterflies and bees. It's time to pick up our conversation on the impact of COVID-19 on women-led businesses. As I mentioned, my guest, Henry Mashauraya, the director of home care at Unilever, is with us. Also is Ivy Wanjiru, the director of Kitenge Crown, in studio. And joining us virtually this morning is Nancy Nyawira Warungu. She's the director of Lulea, which is a luxury leather brand. And Henry, before we went, we briefly touched on this program now that you have to empower 100,000 women by 2036. Now, this year, that figure is for 5,000. So for anyone who's watching, any business that is watching today, what does the program entail?
Yeah, so I think it's a comprehensive program that we've put out, and maybe just to give a status of where we are. So I think the first thing is currently now, we are offering our media spaces to women, so the likes of Ivy, to express their business. So that's where we currently are now.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is, billboards or digital platforms, and also free radio advertising. So that's where we are.
So let me ask, ideally a platform, a billboard that should carry your advertisement is carrying their product?
Absolutely, yeah. So exactly. So I think that is sort of like our commitment to the cause, to say let's showcase some of these fantastic businesses that are out there. that may not have been previously exposed due to lack of opportunities or funding to pay for such billboards. Yeah, so that's currently happening now.
Okay.
But to your next question, which is more around where to from here. So that's what we start doing now in half two or from July onwards, whereby we are rolling out a financial literacy model. So you basically you're taught virtually online, and you go through 13 different modules. Yeah. So the expectation for us, or the intent for us, is after having gone through those 13 modules, you'll be in a better position, to financially manage the running of your business. Yeah. So again, we do that with Unita, and that's going to be happening during the course of, from July to December. Yeah.
Okay.
So the target is 5,000, but like we mentioned earlier on, we got a bolder ambition than that.
Okay.
So that's why for us, I think we know it's not just a job for us to do alone. So again, we invite other corporate organizations who are interested in this sphere to join us on the journey to make a true impact to the women of Kenya.
Ivy, you're definitely very young, and so is your business. How much importance do you attach to issues of financial literacy?
A great deal, honestly, because when you're starting out, you feel you need, I'll give an example of myself. I need fabric, so maybe that's 2,000 bob. Like, you have a very tiny budget because you're working with what you have. But then I remember my family always asking me, so if I gave you 1 million right now, like, what would you do with it for Kitenge crowns? And you're like, okay, that's a very interesting question. So definitely the financial literacy classes would be very helpful and important, because then they don't only give you the discipline on how to manage funds, but then you also learn what to prioritize when you're in business. So I'm definitely looking forward to the financial literacy classes.
Okay. And maybe, Nancy, so far, Henry has mentioned the program is still in the stage of just giving visibility. Have you perhaps been enrolled or interested in this program? Have you in any way benefited so far?
Yeah, we have benefited from this program because we've had many contacts, people reaching out, wanting to know more about our company and what we do and what we can offer. So we believe it has really helped.
So there's a direct translation, of course, perhaps in sales or people interested in your business, of course, from the visibility itself.
Yeah.
All right. Ivy, and for you?
I'd say the visibility has done me so much justice, to be honest, because as a young brand, being affiliated to a very strong brand like Sunlight, and luckily for me, it's very relevant to my cause because of the washing and all that. So it's been amazing. I definitely gained so many more followers on my social media pages, and I use it. Sometimes I also use it to bait, to attract more clients. So I would also encourage young businesses not to just focus on the direct sales. Sometimes it's the visibility that you need. It may not always make conversions right there, but in the long run, it's definitely worth it.
Okay. All right. But another issue that came out very prominently during our discussion earlier with Ivy was the issue of access to finance, and especially if you are a woman business owner, this is a real big issue. And somehow I can't help but feel that if we are not addressing that part, then we might not really be addressing a huge part of the problem.
Yeah, so I think we might have mentioned it earlier on. So I think that's why, I suppose, in terms of our collaboration with ABSA, that's critical, because it is a real barrier, as we've mentioned before. So I think at least ABSA being on board from this perspective actually helps us, one, educate these women as to how to do it. And of course, ABSA also has the ability to, to actually give these funds potentially to women. So that's the key one. The one thing I also wanted just to touch on, Victor, was who can actually participate here. So I think what we're saying is, if you've got a business and if you're a woman, You can participate. You've got access to, or you can apply to participate. Let's put it that way. And then, you know, have the opportunity to then go through these modules. And I think the key thing that we look for is, you know, have a real passion for what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, if you're passionate and if you're willing to learn, then, you know, you'll be successful at the end of this program.
So with this partnership with ABSA, we're looking at perhaps products that are designed towards women, or even perhaps more affordable in terms of the lending rates or something like that?
Yes, so that's sort of the discussions that are being had at the moment. And also in terms of, I think, what ABSA also brings to the table is co-sponsoring of the modules that, you know, because they do cost money, right, to run these modules for women. So there's a co-sponsoring element that they also bring to the table. Yeah.
Okay, but the problem now is for anyone who is watching, they're just wondering, okay, looks like Ivy is already part of the program. How do I become part of the program?
So at this stage, in terms of, because the opportunities for media spaces, you know, those applications are done, and those have been exhausted, if I can say it like that. So the next stage, which is the training, please watch out for our social media pages. So the Sunlight social media pages, that's where the information will be disseminated, and that's where you'll be able to then get guidance as to how to then participate further. Yeah, so that should be coming out in the next couple of weeks or so.
Okay, all right. Maybe let me just go back to Nancy, because Nancy mentioned that indeed the business has perhaps survived the large part of the COVID-19 storm, but it still needs more support to, you know, to thrive, to come back to its level, to come back to, good numbers, to profitability. Nancy, from where you sit, what aspect of your business needs support right now for it to, of course, come back to its levels?
I would say cheap capital, market support.
Yeah.
To have, if you can get potential.
Okay, I think I think she's gone mute. But if we can come back to you, Ivy, at the moment, the business, how many people do you work with? Are you the only person working in the business? Do you have people who work for you? And how do you see yourself in terms of issues of upscaling?
Okay, I would definitely. I do have a team, but then it's not sustainable to have them on board like on a monthly payroll because the finances are a bit strenuous. Yeah. But other than myself, yes, I do have, like I mentioned, some male tailors, very good tailors, who I know I'd always run to when, for example, I need assistance. So when I think about the financing, I definitely need the financial literacy classes so that I'm able to manage huge loads of capital. Mm-hmm. And I really look forward to having, like I mentioned earlier, a physical location with the tailors. Mm-hmm. I offer employment and it's consistent, a marketing team, developers. I really can't wait to scale up because I know it's going to give me an opportunity to also not just open up the Kitenge Crowns brand to the whole of the Kenyan market and the world, but also to offer employment to people who are really seeking for it.
Okay. And another aspect that, of course, Henry mentioned was the issue of digitization and having some bit of online presence, and not just having some bit of online presence, but having an actual, well-organized online presence that, of course, helps and sort of translates into some numbers when it comes to people who are interested in your products.
For me, I'm actually mainly based online. I push a lot on Instagram. Kindly follow me at kitenge.crowns, crowns with a K, and on Facebook as well. So I'd say my business has been able to thrive and actually withstand the whole pandemic aspect of finances because of the online presence. So I definitely encourage people who are doing it to do it even bigger. People who haven't started, like Henry mentioned, you'd find someone who does hair just at the corner of the road, but they don't know if they actually post it online, they're going to attract so many more clients.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Henry, I just want you, before we wrap up the conversation, I want you to respond to the issues raised by the two ladies in business, and then we can take your closing remarks.
Yeah, so I think, but just maybe before I do that, I just wanted to, I like the way Ivy described the journey that she foresees for herself, you know, like the warehouse, the bigger warehouse. Because that talks to what we're saying, from striving to thriving. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is our goal. How can we get more women
from striving to thrive?
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah. So look, I think from a closing remarks perspective, like I opened in the beginning, I think there is so much potential within this region, within Kenya, amongst the women that we have. And I think for us, it's about coming together as corporates, as Unitar, like I've said, or different stakeholders, to really upskill, invest a bit more time in terms of coaching, guiding, mentoring, upskilling these women so that they can truly, I suppose, improve their lives and their livelihoods, and ultimately improve the communities that they live in, because we know there's a direct correlation in that. So I suppose that's our appeal. How can we do more of it? How can we get 100,000? Ideally, if we can do it in 2 years, even better.
Yeah.
Because we know factually that it's going to improve the livelihoods of more people within the country.
Okay, hold that for a bit, because Nancy is back with us. Nancy, just give us your closing remarks regarding what you think needs to be done to uplift more women-led businesses and to make sure that they thrive, they withstand the COVID-19 period, and of course, much more importantly, like Henry Ray says, they move from striving to thriving.
Yeah, I think if we can be helped to get cheap, affordable financial support.
Okay.
Like loan, and also easy. The market, because like our product, the demand is there.
Yeah.
Because it's a small shopping bag that sells very well. So if we can get cheap finance, and then also reduce the import duty, because the import duty is very expensive. So if we are buying, so that would be good.
All right. I think very valid points by Nancy there. The very same issue of finance and how much it would mean for the business. But for you, Ivy, you're very young, at least from where I sit. There are very young women out there who are looking at you and they're wondering, oh my God, I've been postponing this for a while. I've been wanting to start my business, but I just can't find the courage to start it. What different thing did Ivy do? And perhaps maybe for your closing remarks, what words do you have for them?
Well, the only difference between me and you at home who's been thinking of an idea is to actually start it. Just take the first step. You may not have a whole warehouse or everything figured out, but just start it, and also ensure that you're very clear on your vision, the vision for the brand, like beyond making money, what else are you really yearning to give back to the community? So just start. Also be a very strong vision carrier for your brand or your business. That's how you're going to be able to bring in brands like Sunlight or any other brands in your field that you're looking up to. And then be patient and be appreciative of any kind of assistance that you get. You may not get the 10 million that you need now, but you may get someone who is willing to do your website. You may get a lawyer who will help you look at the legal aspects of it. So just value every contribution that you get into your business, so that by the time the big bucks come, because we all know that's where the big break comes in, then you're fully prepared and you're fully aware of how you're actually going to continue using the funds to scale up your business.
All right. Thank you, Ivy. And of course, for you, Henry, then I'm sure you mentioned the issue of the importance of collaboration between different stakeholders, whether it's the government, corporates, NGOs, investors, and all that. For anyone among those players who is still doubting the importance of this, just talk to them about what difference it would make to invest in a woman-led business today.
Yeah. And maybe before I just do that, I think the one thing I also just wanted to call out, even from a corporate perspective, is what we could do as corporates is around preferential procurement. So I think, as we spoke about earlier on in the discussion, there's parts of our community that are marginalized, and we know for sure that women-owned businesses are marginalized versus men-owned businesses. So I think there's opportunities for us as corporates to also look at our procurement processes and understand how we can, include more of these women-owned businesses as part of that.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, I think the call out is for all of us to come together. It's not for private business or for government alone to do this. It's about how collectively we take this agenda and this discussion forward to ultimately benefit the communities that we all live and work in.
All right. It's not about what the government can do or what corporates can do. It's about what we can collectively do to uplift women-led businesses in Kenya, especially during this period of COVID-19. That has been our discussion this morning, talking about the impact of COVID-19 on women-led businesses and what we can all do to give more, of course, women-led businesses a chance to thrive. And, of course, from Henry's words, to move from striving to thriving. Many thanks, of course, to my guest this morning. Henry Mashaura is the director, of course, of Unilever, that is in charge of home care, as well as Ivy is Wanjiru, that is the director of Kitenge Crown. She's looking very beautiful in her own brands, as well as Nancy Nyawira Warungu. She's the director of Lulea, which is a luxury, of course, leather brand. From me and the entire team, it's goodbye for now. But remember, last night, Italy knocked out Spain, of course, in penalties to qualify for the final of the ongoing Euros. And, of course, tonight, England will be facing it off with Denmark. So we'll emerge the winner. We will tell you, of course, tomorrow morning when we talk matters sports. Remember, Argentina and Brazil have also qualified for the Copa America. Who is going to take it this time around? Will the Brazilians take it, or will Messi finally get a chance to get his first ever international trophy? Also, Jadon Sancho has joined Manchester United for a huge record fee. Who is your club signing? And especially for Arsenal, I'm very much interested to see who we will be signing for this season. All this and much more tomorrow during our sporting action. Remember, the Olympics begin later this month. Kenya has already sent out a team. How strong is the team? Will we shine once again, or will our competitors in the East African region, which is Uganda and Ethiopia, come too close and, of course, threaten our, our strength or our conquer, of course, of the athletics world as we have done in recent years? It's goodbye for now, but be sure to join us tomorrow for all that and more sporting action. I've been your host, Victor Kiprop. It's goodbye for now.
Presenting the new Harpic Bathroom Cleaner. Compared to ordinary detergents, its thick formulation gives you superior cleaning and kills 99.9% of germs and viruses all around the bathroom. Blue for the toilet and red for the bathroom.
Hello, I'm Mihala Barasa and welcome to Learn in a Minute. You are among those women that have been told you can never work out during your period, aren't you? I bet you are. Today, I'm here to tell you a little bit different. A lot of women around the world and in Kenya are told they cannot work out during their period because of A, B, C, D, and E. I'm here to tell you that there is no scientific reason of why you can't work out. during your period. There are physical reasons though. If you're in too much pain, too much discomfort, your floor is too heavy, this and that, but you can still walk, you still get to work, why not throw in a workout? The workouts that are recommended during your period are walking, yoga, light jogging or running, if you're a big fan of that. You can go swimming, you know what to wear when you're going swimming, and a few other fitness activities. So let nobody tell you that you cannot work out during your period. No scientific reason, just psychological and physical reasons. Again, highly recommended, yoga, swimming, jogging, and light walking. And that has been Learn in a Minute. I am Mihala Barasa.
Timeless love.
I thought today would be the happiest day of my life.
Sooner or later, we will have news about Geronimo.
So you believe that he escaped with a doctor? Well, he ran to her arms once when Renata told him to jump in the lake. That man has low passions, and I'm convinced he's with her right now.
And that's not all, Regina. There's an order of apprehension against you.
Timeless love.
You don't.
Yummy.